All right, get started on the agenda. All right, so upcoming events we have today. Really cool that we've had quite a bit of stuff like for this month that we're putting together. On the 26th at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, we've got the development V2 updates. Decent Labs and the Sarcophagus team are all going to get together and we'll be talking about everything that they've been doing. I've kept up with their bulletin and message board. These guys are talking super in-depth stuff like sharding and stuff that I need to actually do more research just to understand the concepts they're working with. And then April 30th, Privacy of Sarcophagus Tech Talk. Quick Change has been putting those together monthly. Really great stuff to come and listen to for just learning. This one's going to be about privacy. So teach everybody about how Sarcophagus works as far as privacy goes, and who can see what. So that'll be a really good one. Airfoil is going to be the host of that one. And talking about V2 updates, Decent DAO has been hard at work. Shared this document out, has a couple links here to the discussions on it. And then again on the 26th, we're doing the updates here. Actually, let's see something here. Oh, that's right. I'm doing it from my phone. I was going to share the document live, but I'm doing it from my phone. Hey, Cujo. Good to see you got to show up, man. And then Sin Yang. And we're just talking about the events coming up here pretty quickly. And then we have, let's see, the recent AMA that came out with Decent DAO and Sarcophagus came out a little less than a month ago. That's up on YouTube now. That link's on here. I'm going to make sure this document gets reshared again so everybody can get it. Liquidity farming is coming to an end very soon. It ends on May 13th, so just under a month. And the contract, like the dashboard, will remain open. So if people, like once the contract ends, it's not going to just disappear. The dashboard stays open. You can go in, get your tokens out, withdraw everything. Even the stablecoin dashboard is actually still open for people to withdraw. I haven't checked it in a couple weeks, but there were still people pulling their stuff out, and it's been closed for months. So it's not going to go anywhere real fast. So recommend everyone gets their tokens, but they will be sitting there. All right.
John, another question. I know it was pulled off the website. Is there a reason why it didn't just stay up and just say, it's just put like a, on the drop down where it says uni LP farming or stable coin mining? Is there a reason why it just says ended? Just put kind of hyphen ended so that it's still there and people don't have to search for it instead of saying, where to go, so they don't have that panic.
Oh, you know what? I know it was announced in the Discord that it was closed and whatnot, trying to get, that was a few months after the fact. But I know I talked to Zach about this briefly. I'm trying to remember what was said because I want to say it was one of the ambassadors that mentioned removing it and then Zach agreed or something like that. I'm trying to remember where that conversation is. But my understanding was basically me. Oh, it was you. Okay. I could have sworn it was an ambassador that said it.
Well, I in the chat a month or two ago, I was like, because I was doing the monthly write up, and I said, "Hey, that link is still up, and you guys might want to do something about it because it still shows all the buttons to even though the contract was over, it still had the same screen layout. So I guess they must have just took it off, right?"
Yeah, it seems like that, but that's what I'm thinking. It's like maybe they can't, are they going to have to recode it so people don't block in the contract? So they probably just said, let's just get rid of it, and then if someone wants to go and look for it or they need their tokens, they can just reach out for it, and you just send them to the website that was there before.
Yeah, maybe we can leave a pin message.
Yeah, I might actually see if I can grab the announcement here. Oh goodness, it's moved up quite a ways now. But yeah, I remember that now. I think it was just kind of cleaning it up a little bit and trying to keep it current with the whole V2 stuff going on. And I know, that reminds me, well, you might have that here. Do you have that on here? Okay, speaking to this, with that ending, maybe one reason they removed it is to kind of just less clutter because they're talking about doing another something with Rift, where it would be treasury management. Zach's been, there's a vote going on to make Zach the what do you call it, treasury manager, and start researching into stuff to manage the funds, like using Rift Finance for liquidity, looking at stuff like Harvest Finance for getting yield, just different things to try and help the DAO continue to be sustainable and grow. Uh, and that I was just thinking that might be one reason why they removed it, was just to reduce clutter and make room for more. I know they want to try and keep it clean, which reminds me I need to talk to them about the light paper. One of the links on it died. Uh, but anyway, that was just something that I wanted to mention, is possibly why, just to have less links, but I'm not sure. I can ask Zach. Okay, and the Sarco March community update is out. Thanks to Miguel for getting that out. It's about B2 development, Sarcophagus, and the Decent DAO AMA on Twitter Spaces, and talking about the liquidity sub-DAO sustainability plan. So some of what I just talked about with the new vote coming up, and they're pushing forward to create a liquidity sub-DAO and have it properly managed, and that will help grow the DAO itself and the ecosystem. Let's see, Tech Talks. And Tech Talk number 1, we mentioned that's coming up on the 30th. The project structure of Sarcophagus. Let's see. Oh, is this a link to your... I'm actually going to open this. It's on Medium. Oh, okay. That's right. There's an article actually covering the first episode.
Yeah, I did a summary of it and put it there.
Dope. And then we got the YouTube, because it all got recorded, so all that can be seen from the previous. Oh, do not let that play. That would be terrible. So yeah, the YouTube and the Medium article covering the previous one, and then Tech Talk number 2 is coming up on the 30th, and that's going to be on the privacy of Sarcophagus. As I mentioned, Airfoil is going to be the leader host on that one, and Quick Change has been putting that info together. Most of the ambassadors are welcome to be there, probably will be there, and hope to get a bunch of the community in on this so that people can just kind of understand the concepts of like encryption and how all that works in the tomb, and what that means to people who are using it, like what information can be seen, what can't be seen. There's actually been a little bit of discussion on that recently. Somebody brought up a very pointed question about the identity of archaeologists being able to be found on chain, and the question was posed by me, kind of pointedly from someone else, was that when a wrap is done, all that information is done on chain, does the archaeologist sign the transactions with their own Ethereum wallet, since they're paying for gas and everything? So that was like a big question there, because that would technically that'd make their identity, so to speak, traceable just by finding the address anyway. So that was something about the anonymity that was being asked, was that if archaeologists remain anonymous in signing transactions, and how that works. So that'd be a great question actually to bring up to Airfoil, because he would have a pretty good understanding of that. All right, and then project collaborations. I have a second document that, like I said, Miguel wrote up the meat for. I added a little bit of notes and just a couple like pointers to it, about some stuff we want to talk about for V2 marketing, like in between. But this is some of it here. Project collaboration. All discussions are being had in the public now. We have that new developer chat that's in the Decent DAO Discord. Originally, we had a private Signal chat where all of the developers, ambassadors, investors, and everyone who was kind of part of the support structure for Sarcophagus talked and everything. And then with the recent V2 vote and whatnot, that was decided to be made public and was moved to the Decent DAO Discord, because they're hosting the V2 developments. So they're hosting that specific channel. And the whole target of it is, be open source. We want everybody to have their say and ideas weaved into the end design, because the user, in making this work for users, is the goal. And we want everyone to have a little bit of input on it. So that's part of that, publicly showing all that so people can see what's going on behind the scenes. But also, that's a great way for ideas to flow. Like, you see those conversations happening, and what leads up to decision making, you might be able to drop, your own opinion, and might make a difference. So that's always a great thing about it. And then, this is touched a little more on the other document. I'm going to leave that for a second. Okay, all right. Now we're going to move into the second document here that I did. Developer chat, ambassador. One of the recent updates that we did for the ambassadors is we moved all of the documentation to a central location in Notion. And actually, I'm going to go ahead and share this out in our public chats real quick. I just threw that in the general. That way everybody can grab it. That's our central location now for all the ambassador documentation, like the mission statement, even stuff like the Discord leveling system that we put together. All of that is there. Let's see. Let's cover that. Something else. The GitHub channel in both Sarcophagus and Decent on the Sarcophagus V2 development updates reflect everything that happens on there. Like they have their own development. They have their own development discussion channel in GitHub. It's kind of like a board where just a forum, if you will, where everyone talks, but it's very, development centric. So really, really deep stuff talking about like the nitty gritty of how like archaeologists are going to share a private key amongst 5 of them, how they're going to execute an M of N scheme, I think is what they called it. So a lot of really deep stuff there. And every time there's an update or anything, you'll see a ping in the GitHub channel. That's what that is. It just sits there. And anytime that something's posted or shared on the GitHub or committed, it all gets posted there. So everyone can see the physical activity that's happening in development. So really cool stuff. All right, so now getting more into some V2 growth and marketing targeting. I should have fixed that during development. Strategy themes for this are going to be control and security, decentralization, and transparency. So some growth tactical plans. Leveraging on ideas above the strategy model, we will look at how to implement the ideas above in ways that we can implement in windows or pockets through time. Tactical plans can shift based on feedback and positive/negative or no engagement as we prepare for V2. So we have some plans. Miggs, I want to give him the credit for this. He put like 99% of this together. I just threw in like a couple little notes that basically were just like, yes. First off, talk about monthly themed community graphics. Each month we've been doing these graphics and images that tie use cases into properties of the DMS for Sarcophagus together. We want, like recently, an example of this is we went to the project channel, the ambassadors, Liv, the artist for everyone. We all went in there and just kind of asked the community openly, like, hey, let's kind of work together on creating some kind of graphic here. And had a few people express interest, but Essie ended up submitting a graphic that we actually used for today's meeting, and we gave her XP and whatnot. It was a really great graphic. Liv approved it immediately, which is really dope. And we decided that since we're using it, we even put it on the Sarcophagus Twitter profile, just to kind of show people that as much as we love this community support, we want to also support the community likewise. Like you definitely let people know, hey, this is from our community. This is really great. This is what we want. And so on top of that, there's a vote right now for a tip for Essie in Sarco. We didn't exactly outline that we were going to be giving rewards for this stuff, but we kind of are. Like when we see, but we've always been really front with that if we see any kind of action, that we're going to respond because that's what we want. So we're not we don't necessarily have an open bounty program or anything, but work that gets done gets rewarded. And that's never been any different. So even though the bounty programs and whatnot are open, stuff like this, we see it's really great and helps support the community, then we absolutely want to reward it. Oh, did I just cut out? Okay. Making sure everybody can still hear me. All right. But anyway, on to the next thing here. A little more on acknowledging rewards and participation. We want another thing for rewards we want to take a look at is POAPs and implementing them for AMAs, meetings, and other things. This gives acknowledgement to the community that we value their appearance and gives them a cool badge to highlight. And there's a few different ways we could do this, but POAPs are typically, like NFTs or something like that. And something that we've been looking at considering for multiple things, as far as the NFTs go, actually touching on the V2 stuff for archaeologists. It has been mentioned multiple times that, and recently actively pursued, that there may be NFTs to represent the archaeologist's rights to a sarcophagus. That way it makes the rights transferable. So that's something else that we were looking at with NFTs, and the POAPs would be great for, the AMA's meetings. Like you said, a badge to show that, hey, you were there, you were supporting the community and having your input. So that's something that we've definitely been looking at, aside from just, token rewards and XP in the servers. We've kept everything kind of like modest and unproclaimed, like I said, but we're always looking for stuff to reward. I mean, we want people to be engaged, and we want to reward people for that. And then the university blockchain engagements. Recently, I went to, digitally went to Boston College Blockchain Club last month and talked to them about Sarcophagus, put together a presentation and whatnot, and it went really well. And I would love to keep doing that. Liv has expressed that she would like to do that as well. So if we could even, I would love to keep doing this as much as possible. And if we could even have a team of people that could do it, that would be fantastic. Who knows what that could evolve into? It could go from just doing signal chats with different blockchain clubs to it could grow to actually talking at a university one of these days about the importance of a dead man switch and how it was used in history and how it's been applied in the modern era with things like John McAfee and stuff like that. So it really could expand from there if we get a system down and basically get the word out there properly that this is what we're doing, that we want to go talk to these students, these sprouting geniuses that are coming up in the world and actually care about their education. We want to be a part of that as much as we can. I don't know, Migs, if you have anything to say on this, because something that you really helped me with getting into this stuff. And then Jack's not here at the moment, but he mentioned there was a couple other blockchain clubs that he knew of that we could probably talk at. So a lot of that's just putting out feelers and knowing people. I've been adding them on Twitter and just trying to make those connections, because it definitely helps with a lot of areas, just even getting out there and talking to these groups of people. Those little bits count a lot. They really do. The word of mouth thing is a very high value, and it's underrated in this particular area because we're all in a digital world and whatnot, but word of mouth is still a big deal. So participate in local blockchain and crypto conferences. Recently, myself I went to East Portland, and it was a really super small event. There was probably maybe 50 people there per day. So there wasn't a ton of room for connecting with people. Most of them were NFT projects or something related to that. Utopia Labs was actually there, and I wanted to connect with them, but I didn't get the chance. But they're really new, and I don't know if any of you are familiar with their software, but for me personally, their use is it's basically like a billing interface that connects with Geonosis multisig. So it's kind of like a transaction builder, but it works a lot more user friendly, as in you go into the interface, put in the information like an invoice or a reason for the charge or anything like that, a proposal, stuff like that, how many tokens the proposal's worth, all of that information. Then you submit it, and then it puts the transaction through on the backside to the Geonosis vault, and then everybody signs off on that transaction and it goes through. So really, really cool stuff that just helps simplify the use of the multi-sig. And they were there and had a good presentation. I really wish I'd been able to connect with the guy, but oh well. And it's something else for everybody to keep in mind, since we're all very spread out here across the U.S., across the world, is if there's any of these types of events like ETH Denver, BTC Miami, DevCon, any of this stuff coming to your locality, let us know if you have the time to go there. If like just throwing this out there, if you're in China or India or Russia or Germany or any of these countries that a lot of us like have no access to, at least feasibly, and there's some event coming to your area that's relatable to the Ethereum ecosystem or crypto in general, as far as use cases and stuff like that, and you have the time or the desire to go talk about this stuff there, let us know. We will support you. We will help you with documentation. We will help you. I will give you my presentation that Liv helped me build and everything. Like we'll give you everything you need if you want to go talk there, because that right there is a huge support for the community when people just go out and talk like that. And like myself and Quick Change and Migs, we're all kind of in the US locality. So, and if we could get leadership established outside of the US that wants to go do these talks and stuff like that, that's great. Speaking of, Ed Z did one, and it was a really big deal because a lot of people showed up and he got to talk to people, and there's genuine interest generated there. So something definitely we want to support. And then project collaborations. This is something we haven't done a ton of recently. We haven't had much success in generating buzz with doing a collaboration with other projects, but if we can find the right partner and audience or platform, it could potentially be very rewarding. Targeted communities like Arweave, privacy-based protocols. There were a few other DeFi products actually that Migs mentioned to me coming out soon that all have to do with inheritance and data pass down and stuff like that. And they all have either come out recently or are coming out very soon. And I think that highlights there's a little bit of awareness coming to this area. The fact that there are products popping up, that means that there's a need. Like they recognize the need, so they decided to design their own product to fill that need. So the fact that more people are even recognizing that there's a need in this space bodes well, at least in my opinion. I think competition is good. I think competition brings eyes on the space. The more people you have in this space making noise, the better. But I mean, again, that's my personal view on that. And and even further, these newer projects that are coming out, I mean, so long as they're friendly to the idea, there's no reason we can't reach out and talk to them and even, share ideas with them, see what they're doing. Like, what are they, are they a centralized platform? Are they completely decentralized? Are they, trying to make some kind of earning system with it? Like, what are they doing? Like, this is all the great conversations that could be had that's beneficial to everyone. Okay, international outreach. I have a document actually that it is, I think it's in the Notion. So I'm going to check now, make sure it's in the Notion. Yes, it is. The international outreach doc is in the Notion. It didn't necessarily get buried recently, but we've seen the ebbs and flows of the project go with various international waves and flavors, and we've come through the community. We look to see how we can bridge gaps with other community. And perhaps we want to maybe resurface the international outreach doc that was built a while back. It was purposed and used pretty well as like just a general idea, I don't know, 6, 8 months ago. And we started to have a lot of growth in our international community, specifically our Russian, Korean, and Chinese communities all got really active for a while. The big downfall that we've seen recently is with the war in Europe. Most of those those international communities have gone almost silent. Recently, I mean, I don't necessarily watch the news a whole lot, but what I've heard is that the war over there is starting to calm down a little bit. And I have noticed that our Russian channel, Korean channel, like some of those channels are actually starting to light up again a little bit. So it seems relatable to me. But definitely excuse me, resurface that document a little bit. And if anyone has any input, especially in your own localities, on what would be the greatest way to outreach to those people, that would be great. I remember we had an ambassador for a long time named Omar, and he was from like the Arab areas, Emirates, something like that, and his unique perspective on death and the dead man switch and stuff was always really helpful for his area, because I mean, he was pretty blunt with it. He said that they don't even think about death, like it's not a big deal to them. They didn't really approach it or talk about it or anything. So just having those unique perspectives like that for everyone's own area where you live is just a really good tool to have. All right, got a few more points to hit here, and then if anyone has any input, please feel free to cut in or anything like that. V2 tactical plans. So ambassadors' understanding of V2, being the spokesperson and or guiding the community, all ambassadors should be fluent in all areas of the V2 solution. This doesn't mean understanding the code base, but knowing the flow and process of how V2 will be implemented and the various roles and parties and their roles and responsibilities and how Sarcophagus works. So there are definitely going to be some infrastructure changes to how the network works a little bit with how many ambassadors, with how many archaeologists they're going to be associated with each sarcophagus. They're also talking about having multiple layers of the archaeologist system where they have the archaeologist that does the wrapping and whatnot, but then they have, I believe it was an archaeologist that dedicates strictly to like bundling transactions for Arweave. So that's something that I know they're discussing is possibly breaking the system up a little bit into its unique sectors. So understanding all of that is definitely our job as the leadership to try and keep up with that the best we can. Not all of us are super code savvy, but we're getting there. But yeah, the best we can as leaders, trying to keep up with that and keeping in contact with the developers too. That information is all public, but some of it needs a translator. So that's kind of our job. And then engagement games. So I don't know if everybody remembers the BTC Miami game back in 2021, where with the old V1 tomb, there was a sarcophagus setup that had a private key wrapped in it, and the how was it? The embalmer's private key was made public so that anybody could access that embalmer wallet and rewrap the wallet endlessly until, the game was to see who could be the last to rewrap it. And or something along those lines. I actually need to go back over and look at it again, because basically the point of it was just to be the last person to unwrap it. And if you thought, somebody else was going to unwrap it ahead of you, then rewrap it again. And, being the last person to unwrap it meant you got the private key wallet that was wrapped in it so that you could claim a Sarco reward. My understanding was that the game actually went on for a little while. People kept rewrapping and whatnot. And, eventually people fell off, but so more games along those lines as V2 is coming would be great. Even if we just try to use the testnet tomb. Big problem with the testnet tomb right now is, besides it being V1, there's very limited number of archaeologists running on it. I'm hoping to help with that a little bit, because if we can use the testnet tomb at all for stuff like this, it would be like a fun little way just to kind of showcase people. Here's like a demo concept of it and how it works. And if nothing else, we could come up with at least some planned games and whatnot for after launch. And then incentivize giveaways. Have the community get Sarco for doing something through incentivization. This will be something like we did for testing the TypeScript update, where they do something and they are compensated for that action. So we probably will be doing stuff like this as well, I imagine, for once V2 is launched. We did a public testing round after V1 that was with rewards. V2, I imagine, will be slightly different as far as size of reward and whatnot, but we'll definitely have something there because all of the testing for this has been public. There's going to be some kind of code base audit, so a lot of things coming after V2. So anything we can do to incentivize people to actually use the protocol itself and test it and anything like that is definitely going to be a big focus. I know that. Anyway, that about covers everything we had. I know I covered a lot there. So if anyone has any comments, anything I missed here, really great work by Quick Change and Migs putting this stuff together to make sure that we have everything covered. No questions. Can everybody hear me? Just making sure.
You're good.
Okay. All right, cool. Well, I have sat here and yammered on for 45 minutes. If anybody has any comments or suggestions on any of these documents or anything we went over, appreciate it. It's good to see you, Lewis 08. I haven't seen you around in a bit. Thanks for being here. Cujo, thanks for being here as well. I've seen you a lot in the community lately, and we have noticed you're very active, so keep it up, bro. But anyway, with that, I think that concludes our community meeting today. Thanks everyone for coming, and I'll be around, of course. You can nail me in the chats, and catch you later.
I just have one thing, Johnny, just before we step away, just something that I've been just keeping up with.
Yep, definitely.
Yeah, so the Decent DAO has been posting all of their workflows on how the V2 is going to be working, right? There's something Johnny mentioned before. They're talking about how it's going to work, the separation of the Arweave portion of the archaeologist versus the wrapping portion of the archaeologist. They're actually putting those workflows online. You can actually see the path that they're going to go. There's arrows pointing, what steps are occurring. If you get to a point where you need to wrap versus unwrap, there's actually a portion, what's gonna occur, how is it gonna occur. That's all on the V2 discussions. What we can do is we can send this article out, send today's community meeting document together, to send it out today, and then you can actually click on those links. It's on the GitHub, you can see it, but if you want the direct link, then you can just wait for this community meeting notes to come out, and you can actually send them there.
Yeah,
and
you can also
the original. I was gonna say the original notes you made are posted and have most of the links too.
Yeah, and you can also check out the GitHub channel and our Discord channel here, and there's links to all the different items there. So many different ways to go and check out that information.
All right, awesome guys. I'll probably post up a couple more links too, just to make sure people know where that developer chat Discord is. But anyway, I am going to get going. Thanks everyone for being here, and see you. What was the date? The 30th? The 26th. Yep. See everyone on the 26th.